You are now listening to Playbook Radio. Here is your host, Martin Williams.
And welcome to Playbook Radio. My name is Martin Williams. So I started recording and I got almost 2 minutes in to my podcast and I realized that I was recording my audio, but not my video. So we'll see if I can recreate the magic because I was going with no notes. But thank you so much for tuning in. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. All the links to the podcast can be found at gameplanplaybook.com. That's gameplanplaybook.com. So today's topic is mind games. And whether you realize it or not, your mind is playing games on you, right? Your mind is playing a game with you. And if you're not playing with it, if you're not playing back with your mind, then your mind is dominating the game and you're losing the game. Now, a couple things we got to understand is that number one, you are not your mind. Okay. You have a mind, but you are not your mind. Okay. That's very important because the mind can go from 0 to 60 in less than a second. Right. And you can feel things and be highly emotional, highly upset, highly sad, depression, all these things, right? All these things live in your mind, okay? But you are not your mind, okay? We are given a mind. I believe that we were given a mind at birth, and our mind allows us to interact with the outside world. So your mind allows you to create whatever life that you want on this earth. Okay. And without a mind, there's really not a whole lot that you can do on your own. You would need a certain amount of assistance in order to accomplish much of anything. But with your mind, you can create anything, right? So your mind is very important, but you are not your mind. Okay. So as long as you understand that, then you can understand a little bit of what I'm going to talk about today. So I believe in what's called possibility theory. I believe that there are an infinite amount of possibilities in the world or in life. And whether we get to experience any of those possibilities depends upon, or primarily upon, our beliefs. What we believe is possible, right? And then what we believe is possible for us. Sometimes you can believe what's possible for others, but not believe it's possible for you. You might believe that it's possible that a stranger is going to get married. Like today, millions of people are getting married, whether it's in the United States or worldwide. But because you've been single for such a long time, you might not believe it's possible for you. But, if you don't believe that it's possible, it's not going to happen for you, or at least it's not going to happen in a way that you desire. Now, we have an infinite amount of possibilities available to us, no matter who you are, no matter where you came from, no matter how much money you have in your bank account, no matter how many bad things you've done or how many mistakes you've made or anything that you consider to be a limitation has no bearing on the fact that you have an infinite number of possibilities. And so we have the responsibility, the right and the responsibility to choose a possibility that works best for us. Now, we have to be careful when we do such a thing. We have to be careful in that, we don't choose possibilities that would hurt someone, right? It's probably a good idea to practice something like the golden rule, where your possibility works out for the highest good of all involved. Right? You don't want to have a great life at the expense of someone else. And it's possible for that to happen. You can be successful. You can have success and it not be at the expense of someone else. It could be to the benefit of someone else. right? And the best entrepreneurs are the ones who not only created a fortune for themselves, but helped others solve their problems as well. That's really the optimal thing. Okay. So the mind game, let's get back to that. The mind game is really, your mind is basically taking all this input from the outside world. It's taking things from social media and, movies and television shows, and taking input from your family of origin or your current environment. It's taking input from all these different places, right? All these different data points. And it's making a composite of what you perceive to be the truth. Okay? And so the mind creates its own truth. And what you believe to be true doesn't necessarily have to be true in order for you to believe it. It really just has to sound true or sound right. For example, regardless of what political leaning you belong to, because I think there's wackos on both sides, you can believe something, right, to be true, but is it really true? Okay? You can believe that the government wants to take our guns away, but is that true? Does the government really want to take our guns away? Because I don't see any, FBI agents going door to door taking guns away. There's plenty of people walking around with guns, much to my dismay in most cases, right? But there's plenty of people with guns. So are they really trying to take your guns away? And the answer is no. But if you believe it, it's still true for you. Okay? Now, why is that important? That's important because what you believe is true opens up possibilities or closes off possibilities. Okay? So if you don't believe that you can get a job, then it closes off the possibility of getting a job, even though there's millions of jobs available right now. And, even though there's thousands of jobs available where you live, it closes off the possibility of you getting a job because you don't believe that you can get one, right? So that's how our mind can play with us. Our mind can play games on us where we believe something that's a complete lie, right? Has no truth to it whatsoever. But again, if you believe it, it becomes the truth. Okay? So your mind plays games with you. Okay? It's taking all this input from the outside world. Now, that's why our minds can kind of lie to us sometimes, because if you're getting your information from liars, okay, are you going to get truth out of that? Probably not. Okay? So you have to be, there's something that my friend says, consider the source, right? Consider the source. Where are you getting your information from? Okay? Because if you're getting your information from a source that's not trustworthy, then that information is probably going to be faulty. That information is probably going to have falsehoods in it or be completely a lie. But you can see how the mind can build a database, right? And we're in the age of AI now, right? But your mind is the original intelligence, right? AI exists because of input. It takes everything that's ever been created, ever been said, ever been done, right? And creates what's called an artificial intelligence, which is what AI means. But your mind was doing that before they came up with AI. Okay? Your mind takes things from the outside world and you believe it, it becomes your truth. But is it the truth? Okay? So what's true is what exists, right? Your truth may not be that you're out of debt, right? But there is a possibility that exists of you being out of debt. There's a version of you that is out of debt. There's a version of you that's not sick. There's a version of you that is employed and healthy. But there's also a version of you that's unemployed and not healthy. There's a version of you that is doing well. There's a version of you that's not doing well. And possibility theory means that all of those people, all of those parts of you exist right now. Okay? It's not going to happen. That's another lie that a lot of us tell ourselves is that, one day I'll be happy. No, you're happy now. You just got to connect with the happy part of you, the happy version of you, right? And you have to think and act like the happy version of you. You have to think and act like the successful version of you. You might not feel like much of a success right now, but it doesn't mean that you're not a success. It's just that you've got to connect with that version of you. Okay? Somewhere in existence, there's a happy version of you. And when you were a child, it was a lot easier to connect with that because you didn't have anybody telling you, what are you so happy for? You didn't have anybody loading problems on you, loading challenges on you. You didn't have people telling you that your nose is big and your head is big, why are you so happy? There's nothing to be happy about. Stop smiling. Wipe that smile off your face. You ever had your parents tell you that? Yeah. So, when you were a kid, it was easy to be happy, right? Because you didn't have all those people telling you that. But the older you get, it's almost like society beats that happiness out of you. And by the time you come to 18, you're just the most miserable person, unless you're around other happy people. Again, Jim Rohn said it best, we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if you're around 5 miserable people, then you're going to be miserable because that's what our mind does. Our mind takes the input from around us and creates, a belief system. It creates a composite of what we think is the truth, when in reality, it's just the average of what it takes in. It's not the truth. The truth, is really your highest desires. Okay. So when I'm stuck with, making a decision, I don't want to use that term, maybe use it that way, but, whenever I'm tasked with making a decision, maybe it's a better way of saying it. My highest desire becomes my North Star. Okay. I use that to direct my decision making. Okay. If I use the input around me, then I'm probably going to make the wrong decision because what's right for you may not be right for me and vice versa. Right. If I'm around people, like we're trying to decide whether we're going to buy a house now or wait a year. Okay. If I'm around people who rent all the time, who have rented their whole life, they might be saying, oh yeah, you got to buy a house, because why? Because they probably want to buy a house. Their desire is that they want to buy a house, right? But if I'm around people who are homeowners, and especially if they're disgruntled homeowners, their messaging might be, oh no, don't buy a house, because as soon as something breaks down, like you're responsible for it. It's like, I wish I could call a landlord to fix something, right? 2 different varying points of view. Which one is right? Well, neither one is right or wrong. It's really what's right for you. It's really what works for you. And sometimes what works for you in one season may not work for you in another season. That's why you can't depend on all the time timing. That's why, a lot of people say, well, timing was right or timing was wrong. Well, how do you know what the right timing or the wrong timing is? It's very difficult to figure it out. A lot of times we don't realize the right time until after the fact. So you can't depend on that. What you can depend on is your highest desire and letting that be your North Star and letting that drive you to make the right decision. I apologize for moving the phone around. I got this new thing and it's not it's not cooperating the way I'd like it to. But, our highest desires really is God, right? The Bible says that, whatsoever things you desire, believe that you receive them, you shall have them. There's nothing wrong with having desires. There's nothing wrong with having things that you want. The problem is that a lot of times our minds are engaged in lower desires because a lot of times we want what other people around us want, but we never connect with our highest desire, which is already completed. It's already done. Like your highest desire is already completed. It's not something that you got to save up money for. It's already done. So what are you focusing on, right? Number one. And then number two, do you understand that the mind has been playing a game with you this entire time? Okay. Once you understand that your mind's been playing a game with you, then you can say, you know what, mind? Okay, game on. Here's what we're going to do from here on out. I'm going to do XYZ. I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to do these things, right? And I want you to go and create that for me. Okay? And it's not going to be based on the input. And what's going to happen is that once you make a decision, the mind is going to find ways to make that decision a reality. And that's where success starts to happen. That's where you start to win because you're taking charge in the game. You're no longer being played, but you're playing your mind and you're taking charge over your mind and telling your mind what to do instead of your mind telling you what to do. Okay? So that's the difference. And once you understand that, then you're on your way. So thank you so much for listening. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Playbook Radio. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast with family and friends. And if you're ready to take the next step in your personal development journey, consider trying Mental Recoding by Playbook Strategies. These short audios are designed to help you reprogram your thoughts around different life subjects, such as finances, health, work, relationships, and much more. Click the link below to explore mental recoding products to help reshape your mind.